Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games, baby. Let's do this. Now, this should be a little bit of a shorter video this week. There's not a whole lot of stuff that's known to be launching. There's not. I think I got like 5 or 6 on my list right now. So maybe we'll find something at the end to talk about a little bit more. And I got to come up with over and unders because, you guys liked it. I thought it was hilarious about how wrong I am, but we'll get there at the end of this, or a little bit later in the video. We'll go through the games first, but so close on some of them, and some of them I'd look back and I go, oh, that was obvious. So we'll talk about that in a second. We'll see how poorly I did, and if the committee has finalized their judgment on those TCGs as well, and whether or not they count. But let's go right to the games this week. Let's go right to the games. Let's get this, and let's do this. So this is by far the biggest one launching this week. This is Pathfinder Arena. I'm supposed to have a copy coming my way somewhat shortly. Giochi Utini, I'm mispronouncing that again. I apologize. I'm horrible at pronunciations, as we all know with these videos. But this is the board game tabletop adaptation for the classic Pathfinder. Now that it has hit its second edition, they are going into the tabletop realm. And it's going to be interesting to see because it's not what I necessarily would have expected when someone would have said Pathfinder or, D&D-esque to me in terms of a board game. Because it is strictly competitive where you are going heads up against other people in this maze of monsters, and you're going to be manipulating the tiles because the monsters aren't moving, but you're having to get through there and defeat the monsters, but your opponents can manipulate it just as well as you can. Again, the question is going to be more on what is the variation, how different are the monsters, and how can you mitigate things, because it's also heavily card-based, as we'll see here in a second. Now, the other thing that you have to realize, obviously, based on the pictures, it's miniatures. So what is the price point going to look like for this? Especially because it's not going to be like you need 16 copies of each miniature, or there's going to be 5 of each different kind, like with a zombie side or something. But it's going to have a number of heroes, and I would assume even more of a plethora of monsters, your classical Pathfinder monsters, which I'm not as familiar with. I'll be frank on that. I'm more familiar with the Dungeons and Dragons. But, that's going to be where, okay, powers, variations, asymmetry, repeated play, how is that going to be different? What is this bringing unique to the table versus other... it's not really a skirmish game. It's not really a dungeon crawl. So it sort of is this in-between niche, and are people interested in that? This has, the vibe of sort of a Black Rose Wars, but with, I was going to say D&D, Pathfinder influence. So is that going to be something that people want? Is it going to be something that people are clamoring for? I have no idea on this one. I have absolutely no idea what this one is going to look like in terms of how well it's going to do, or, how big the Pathfinder name is translated to the tabletop scene. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out very shortly on the 23rd. The next one up, I actually have a copy of this already. They sent it to me about a couple weeks ago. And this is Mindbug. This is a really interestingly strange game. You've heard Epic the card game. You've heard of games like that where you have this one-on-one dueling, massively overpowered type card game. And basically all you're doing is you have these 2 little mind bugs that go out in front of you. And all they allow you to do is when on your turn, you either play a card or you attack. And if you play a card, the other person has these 2 mind bugs, and they can choose to use one, and they can't be reused again in the same game. You have 2 chances that you can just steal the other person's card when they play it. And then, guess what? Their turn's still over, and then it goes to you. And so each person only has 3 life points, and first one to lose their life points loses. It's that simple. Everything is overpowered. You only play with like half the deck each game, so you're not even guaranteed to see everything each time, and you're not even guaranteed to see it in 2 or 3 games. And the question just is, with a base game like this, how much variability? Again, because you can play it multiple iterations, as me and my wife have done, without seeing everything, without getting a sense of how many combos there are. And there's everything that you need to know. It's attack-based, higher number wins, right? But these powers have all different things, like, cannot be blocked by a creature with 6 power or less. Play, defeat an enemy creature with 7 power or more. Or sneaky, it can only be defended by other creatures with sneaky. Tough, if it gets defeated, instead tap it and it's not lost. Frenzy, if this thing survives its first attack, attack again. So it's got a few of those keywords, but nothing overwhelming, and they all make sense. But again, I have no idea what the market is for something like this, because we've seen a lot of people buy into things like Epic in the past and sort of not always been appealing. But this one This one, I mean, you can play a game in 5 minutes. And so that is probably the most appealing nature of this. I'll probably do a short video on it on the day of launch as well. But it's that in a nutshell. And it's just kind of nifty, neato artwork. And hopefully the price point is low enough and there's not too many expansions or extra add-ons so that you can get it at a relatively decent price too. But there you go, launching on the 23rd. Also launching on the 23rd, we have Octopus's Garden. And this is a tile laying set collection type game where you're just going to be placing tiles from a central market onto your area, trying to just match them up for the most points. Very interesting premise, sort of straightforward, but with a little bit of nice underwater art to go along with it. And lately, that has been a really big hit with people in terms of nature and animals in general. I mean, you're going to be trying to attract certain animals like the seahorses and the clownfish. You're going to be trying to manage other resources, and it just looks sort of interesting. At the same time, I forget what it's called. I had a game very similar to like laying tiles like this, only it was sort of backwards, where you were moving this boat around the board, taking tiles off one person at a time as you went around and trying to do set collection that way, which it was okay, but it wasn't great. And it makes me a little worried when you're doing this in a slightly different way. Although, I mean, again, it's a tile management style of game, sort of along the lines of a little bit of like a Calico-ish, it kind of looks like. And again, I don't know what or who's going to appeal to that. If it's a little bit simplistic, if it's a little bit easier, how does it compare? I mean, those are the questions that are going to be raised. So we're going to have to wait and see for it to launch on the 23rd to get more interest from that side of things. Now, also relaunching on the 23rd is Altenor Secrets, which previously launched, I think, end of September and then canceled on October, I believe. Right here, October 5. I mean, it raised a very respectable 20,000, but their goal was 56,000. So that was the issue. And it has this moving tower in terms of going around, and you're doing competitive, either 1 versus 1 or 3 to 4 players with secret objectives. And again, the concept is great. I just wasn't sure about the execution. It seems like a very solid thing. And I guess the question is, what's going to be different and how is it going to appeal to people differently from last time? It was also not inexpensive at 75 euros. That's not inexpensive for a base game with stretch goals. 10 euro early bird for the extra expansions here too. So again, but that's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's like 150 bucks for a game that hasn't been as hyped, hasn't been as known. I mean, again, there's plenty of videos, if I recall things, and there weren't an issue. I mean, like the Dice Tower had a video and a couple other people had videos. So if we'll ever get to them here, we're hearing about all the expansions. Here we go, the stretch goals. Here are some quotes. Meeple University, a couple of foreigns. Okay, I thought there was a little more. Anyway, but then it talks about what you're doing. You're moving your characters around. You have a choice of which characters you want to move. And then you're going to be, attacking your opponents and how you want to do that. Observe, bluff, strategize, and you can play it in many different ways. And again, they've got the rules up. I know they were doing some tabletop simulator. There's plenty of information, I think. Again, the question is just going to be what's different. Is it going to be a little bit less pricey? Is it going to be just more interesting to people? Because, I mean, this is another game where I know people hate to say that. And, there's part of this crowd that says, I'm going to back stuff with miniatures and I'm going to be really attracted to that. But there's also the crowd that says, hey, if this is a more affordable price point, I might back it even if it has standees. And I always think that's a weird discussion because I am very happy with very nice standees, cardboard or acrylic, but I know a lot of people prefer a big chunk of plastic and are willing to pay a higher price. So that's going to be the main question, I think, in terms of something like that in the most influence from a price point standpoint. So I have no idea. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it does, if they change funding goal, if they change pledge levels, what all is entailed. So we'll see when it launches on the 23rd. I'm going to mention this one just because it's kind of a cool little thing that I came across. Launching on the 24th, it is Yoncollon Dice. Now, it says innovative system for roll and move games. I have no clue what is going on there, but it's looking like an interesting premise of how you're actually going to be using dice in a slightly different way for other games. I don't know, but it's just kind of a cool Japanese project, and I'm interested to see what it looks like when it launches. So I'll probably check it out. I might even throw it in the roundup just for curiosity's sake, because you guys know at this point I love talking about that stuff. So there you go. Then on the 26th, we have a game called Obscure War, as they're calling a dark fantasy miniature tabletop board game. The reason I'm talking about it from their page is because, interestingly enough, there is no Board Game Geek entry, which is always a little bit disconcerting because, I mean, it's not like you have to have a ton of information on the Board Game Geek page, but it also shows that you're looking into your market audience and knowing where your audience is located. So it makes me a little bit concerned that there's not any side of that, but it is looking like it's a French company. So maybe they have a lot of other support elsewhere. They've got a video. They're going to be launching on the 26th, like I said, and they've got a bunch of articles out here that you can kind of check out and a little bit of the background and everything of what this is actually going to look like. So again, this looks kind of cool. Again, I'm just not sure how this is going to be that much different from any other tabletop miniature game, apart from the really cool art and the really cool theme they've got going on. I mean, they've clearly got some cool stuff going on here, right? And it seems to be some sort of variation of like vampires versus werewolves. Obviously heavy miniature based from that side of things. Unfortunately, I can't tell what any of these cards do because all of the cards and the subtitles are in French, but you're going to be moving them around and clearly having interactions on the board that are going to take certain effects. So again, okay, cool. Is this just purely skirmish? Is it objective based? Is it just kill the other team? I don't really know. Now, they do have some information on the Facebook page with some of the cards translated into English. And so, again, a lot of keywords there, a lot of not clear what that's going to do and how that's going to compare. But they've got a little bit of everything there. You get to see it in plenty of colors right now. Anyway, so, I mean, that's going to be the question. Again, price point, knowing your audience, what sets it apart from other skirmish are, you know, I don't even think it's a dungeon crawl. I think it's just more of a skirmish game by the looks of it from that side of things. But multi-box, it even appears in the little trailer video that I was just watching. So, again, we'll kind of see what it entails when it launches on the 26th and, you know, how it fares with the Thanksgiving crowd at this point. So let's go back to last week's over and unders right now because I have nothing else to say on the upcoming games from next week because the over under is the most fun part, right? So as of filming this right now, things are getting very, very close. Well, clearly I was wrong on a couple of them. Now this is Marvel Dice Throne. I said over or under on 2.1 million. Look at this. I mean, come on, guys. This one, 2.123. Literally 1% over. 1% over. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. At least I'm a good guess about where it's going to end up. But clearly, okay, there you go. I mean, great. I mean, they raised $2.1 million. Let's just take a minute and say that's super impressive. Okay, next one. Now, at the time of me filming this, there's still a ways to go, and I'm pretty sure it's going to break $300,000 by the time this video is posted. So I'm pretty sure that one is another bust for me to essentially make me 0 for 2. 0 for 2. Ugh. I don't even need to wait for number 3 for Monsterpocalypse to finish before we know that, again, I went the under on, I think, like, what, it was 850 or something like that. I forgot, like, the legendary all-ins and the extra expansions that always get thrown in the end, especially from a Mythic campaign. So it broke 1 million. 0 for 3. Yes. Now this is the one right now with the Valeria games. I said 50,000 and it's at 36. So this one's going to be close. This one's going to be the closest of all of them, I think, in terms of where it's going to be. Although I guess, you know, Dice Throne was 1%, like I said. So this one is going to be the push, and this one's going to be the sort of, we'll see where it goes sort of thing. And maybe gets me my first oneer of correct guesses at this point. The last one is what we're looking at here on this popular page of things that launched last week. Were there going to be more or less than 1.5 games that launched and had more than 100,000? Well, the only thing right now is Call to Adventure. However, we also have the Grand Archive TCG, $750,000 in like 2 days so far. And then we have Nostalgics, $795,000 in about 3 days. Both TCGs. And so the question that was brought to the committee was, do these count as games? Now, again, the committee really had to rack their brain on this one because both of these games seem to be marketed more as collector's items rather than games to be played necessarily. And the TCG is an awful finicky thing. And the weird thing about, I'll say this, is on when you go to the Kickstarter page here and you go by popularity, even though in 3 or 4 days they have raised that much money, you'll notice they are not anywhere near the top of the popularity. So clearly popularity is more than just money from that side of things, because otherwise they would be much higher. They're falling down even to the second page right now. Nostalgics is falling down even further than that. You can see right now they're going on to the third page, way down here, past other things like Geisha's Road. I mean, that's ridiculous how low that's getting. So clearly there's an issue from that standpoint where money is a little bit strange. So I guess the question to the committee then was, do we count these or not? And so one of you astute viewers said, you know what, maybe we just call it a push, because these are kind of an aberration. These are kind of out there, and these are not usually the typical. So I actually agree. We're going to push it. I'm going to go neither on this side of things. So I'm not going to exclude them. I'm not going to include them. We're just going to nullify that and instead say maybe Liege can go 1 for 4 instead of 1 for 5 or 2 for 5. So we'll do from that side of things right now, because this is just a weird thing. And if you watched my video from yesterday, how I rant on the TCGs in general, it's a great watch if you want to hear a rant and ramble on TCGs. Anyway, so then the questions we're left with now are, what are this week's over and unders going to be? And this was a little bit tougher because there's not big things ending very easily. There's not a whole lot of stuff obviously launching, like I just said. So looking at what's launching, again, we'll just do the same thing. We'll include TCGs if they launch this week. I hope they don't. Actually, you know what? TCGs are off the table. I changed my mind. Mid-video, mid-speak. TCGs are off the table. They don't count. TCGs are an aberration unto themselves. So, 1.5. 1.5 games again. We'll do the same call to adventure prop bet. Will there be over or under 1.5 games that break 6 figures that are launching this coming week? I think Pathfinder's going to do it. Will Mindbug do it? You know what? Let's make that the second one. Let's make Mindbug the second over under. Does Mindbug break, let's make it 75,000. Does Mindbug break 75,000 by the time the next video a week from now rolls around? Over or under 75,000? So this will be a different one. This is not slightly over or under, but which one? We have Clash of Decks, $115,000 right now. We have Honey Buzz, $181,000, but 6 and 7 days each left. And what's interesting, what's close, is actually the number of backers. 2,500 here, 2,450 here. Which one ends up with more backers by the time the campaign ends, about a week from the time I film this? Which one? So right now, I'm going to go under on Mindbug. I'm going to go under on campaigns over 100,000, and I am going to go with Honey Buzz so far with the total number of backers, even though they're just slightly in the lead by about 75 right now. So we'll do 2 last ones here. I'm just gonna, channel predictions, because the crowdfunding side of things is a little dull this week. 2 channel predictions. 1, will this video be over 2,000 views in a week? Over under. And then, where is my subscriber count going to be then? Also, over or under, we're going to say we're at 4,323 right now. Will I break 4,400 by this time a week from now? Over or under? There you go. 2 simple things, 2 easy things, because crowdfunding is letting me down a little bit this week in terms of fun bets. But obviously, as you saw, as was mentioned in one of the comment section of the Board Game Geek, I'm pretty good at guessing, right? Call for Adventure just broke 300,000 as I'm filming this last minute update addition to the video. And the Dice Throne, man, just a touch off. So Vegas is going to be calling me for board game bets soon. I'm going to start the board game book for bets, and we'll just go from there. Liege's Bet Books for Board Games. Has a nice ring to it, right? Whatever. Okay, that's all I got. Let's go to TV time. TV time! One of my favorite times of the week. Let's talk about what I watched on TV. I finished Titans Season 3. Spoilers, if you haven't seen Titans, you want to see Titans, or you're in the middle of watching it, stop, or, pause this or mute this for about, a minute or 2. It's Titans Season 3. Again, dark. It's a very good quality show. Very well put together the first half of Season 3. Second half sort of jumped the shark. I'm sorry, you have Superboy. you know, Nightwing, and you hurt him instead of letting him solve your problems for you. I mean, that was just kind of stupid. It's just stupid reasoning there at the end. You have these super, super powerful ones, and they just don't use their superpowers to help. It's kind of stupid. Stupid. Just a few plot points like that in the last couple episodes. Just kind of, it didn't sour me on it by any means, but it was kind of like, come on, man. This totally doesn't make sense. You know, they're killing people left and right. They're doing this left and right. And then it's sort of dangling all over the place. And it just kind of, you know, they kind of did not stick with the serious theme and the, we're going to be the way it is, you know, regardless. So that was a little disappointing. Right now I'm watching Shetland. Shetland. Had to be careful with that one. Shetland. It's an Irish cop show. It's been going on for a couple years. It's got 6 seasons out there. I'm in the middle of season 4 right now. It's about an hour-long episodes, and the season I'm on right now has 6 hour-long episodes. That is a big overarching criminal case, and it's really well done. And it's not as bad of dialect, so you can actually understand it. So you can actually understand it with relative ease. You don't have to like strain yourself because of the dialect and the accents that they're using. So it's really nice, but it's also very authentic, and it's very well put together. So very good show if you're looking for something else to watch from that side of things. I'm finally catching up on some Bob's Burgers. It just hasn't enraptured me though. Like I get through like 3/4 of the episode and I just kind of like am tuning out though. So it's kind of disappointing. And oh yeah, by the time this airs, I am going to have watched the first episode of The Wheel of Time, which is premiering on Friday, the 19th on Amazon Prime. I am a huge, huge fan of the books. Like, I think this is actually probably going to get my wife to watch the books because I think I'm going to ask her if she wants to watch it together. And we don't watch a ton of shows together. We each kind of have our own little division of things. But this is one. And so, like I did with Game of Thrones, that I got her into that. I think I'm going to get her into this. I loaned my brother-in-law, like, the first book, like, 4 or 5 years ago. And he finally got into it. Like, he finally got past the first book and, like, half of the first book. Because after that, you're hooked. And he's book 5 right now. I think Lords of Chaos or Lord of Chaos. I can't remember if it's solo or single or not. But he's into it too. So he's doing that and he's getting his wife involved as well. So it's probably going to be a good time from that side of things. Hopefully they stay really true to the books. And hopefully they take it slow. Like this is not a series where you want to rush through and skip over things. Because the nuance of all of the different characters and each of the 3 main characters' paths really sets it apart from a lot of the other series that are out there. So I really, 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 really hope they do that. And if you missed it, anime fans, for all 2 of you that are watching with me, they announced the One Piece anime live action movie. That's awesome. I'm super pumped about that too. So, it's cool. What's on the docket for next week? 2 more CMON ranking videos. If you missed my one earlier in the week, there's going to be 30 to 21 and 20 to 11 that are going to be coming out, and we're going to wait to see what other details are coming around with the 50th campaign. I mean, I'm not going to put a video out there talking about it until we have more information. Too much speculation, too much what if. No one has a clue except for the people that got sent that little Silver Surfer promo guy. So I'm not biting. I'm not biting right now from that side of things. I'll wait a little bit and then I'll bite. But we'll talk about it eventually. You know me. So that's it. That's all I got. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'm working all weekend too, so that's awesome. Super pumped about that. I'm missing my kid's basketball game because of it. Oh well. So be it. Okay. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great weekend. Woo! Sounded like it was going to fall on me. Don't need that again. As in with English, I'm not